What's up, gang? Long time no see. So, everybody who got a finish, all 6 finishes got 50 grand tonight. Go ahead, John Morgan.
Yeah. Well, I guess main event fallout, obviously, unfortunate. I guess we know it's illness. What can you tell us about what happened and just how everything unfolded?
Yeah, halfway through the show, we found out that his stomach, he was having stomach problems. He wanted to fight really bad, so Doc worked with him, tried to get some things taken care of before the fight. Didn't work out, and just had to pull him. These things happen. They don't know what was wrong with him. It was some kind of a stomach virus that hit him. Could have been from cutting weight. Who knows what it was, but it happened. And, we're talking to these guys now about, do we do it in 2 weeks? What you don't want to do is have them cut weight again next week. So you give them a couple weeks. And God knows what's wrong with him, so let him heal up and go from there.
If not, do you have a backup plan for Ryan? Obviously, he was incredibly disappointed tonight. We talked to him briefly. If it would be nice if you could rebook that fight, like you said, in 2 weeks. If not, would you try to find him something else fast, or just
100%.
kind of put him back in the rotation?
Yeah, 100%. We'll get him. We'll get him taken care of and get it figured out.
Nice.
It's what we do.
We got a pretty impressive main event anyway. Brendan Allen came in and made an absolute statement. I guess, what can you say about his performance, especially with what he did against the guy he did it against?
2-1 underdog. Took out a ranked guy and made 50 grand tonight. So yeah, he had a really good night. That guy's got nothing to be bummed out about. Good night for him.
No question. Another one that was impressive, Tatiana Suarez. I'm just curious what you think about seeing her back. And first of all, just guess her performance tonight. After that long away, how she looked tonight.
She looked incredible, especially with the time off. Everybody knows how I feel about that much time off, plus the things that she battled personally, physically, and then to come back. And not just, De La Rosa is badass. That's a legit comeback fight. She's big, she's strong, she's a good wrestler. Her ground game is awesome, she's a true fighter. She came in to beat Tatiana tonight, and once she got that choke on too, look how long she fought that choke. Impressive too. So this was a real fight for Tatiana coming back. So it just shows, where she really is. Plus, she's shooting a HBO documentary right now. So, you just couldn't have a better story than that. And the fact that she came in and fought somebody real, like a legit, really badass woman tonight. So, big deal for her.
Here's the interesting part. How do you look
at it?
And
she won 50 grand.
And she won 50 grand. That'll help. So where do you kind of consider the position, right? Because, she looked amazing before she had the time off, but that was at 115. She said she wins tonight at 125. So, do you see that as like, hey, we see her as a top contender? Do you feel like she's got to work her way up from 15 again? Like, how do you see her path?
Yeah, I don't know. That's up to the media. We'll see where she ends up in the rankings and, get a couple more fights under her belt, and we'll see what happens. There's no doubt. She's one of the best in the world. There was a lot of talk on the internet and a lot of hype about her coming back tonight. A lot of people were excited to see her. See how she was going to handle, adversity again, and she came out looking awesome. I pulled her back into my room after the fight, and do you guys remember when she was on her back? She was on De La Rosa's back and literally didn't even put her hooks in. And De La Rosa was bent over, and it was almost like she was staying in the same position like her hooks were in. I was like, what the fuck was that? What were you doing? And she broke it down, telling me what she's doing. She's just incredibly talented.
That's awesome. A couple outside tonight, I want to ask you, what can you tell us about the Ultimate Fighter, Conor McGregor? Big excitement. What can you tell us about what's happening so far?
Yeah, it's been good. We had our first 3 fights, I think on Friday, and I was actually just upstairs with Chandler, and he's telling me how much he loves this show and how into helping his guys he is. He's like, I figured I was going to come out here and, we'd go through the motions and whatever. He says, I'm blown away by how into this I am and how much I really care about these guys. And I said, this is what happens every season, man. It's fascinating. Every year that we do this, first of all, different things happen every season, and the fact that these coaches become so invested in their guys. It's fun, man. It's good to be back. I love it. I'm going to Boston the week of St. Patty's Day and looking for a fight. It'd be the first time I've done that in a while. And then obviously I'm excited for the Contender Series to come back too. All these things that we do to find and build talent are a lot of fun.
Last thing for me, I got to ask you about the big title fight coming up. John Jones is back. I just kind of what your early thoughts are and maybe what the early trends are for how successful this fight's going to be.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, again, just like I told you in Perth, we had Perth. Last year we had a sellout every single event, right? Now, Perth, the John Jones fight, and Miami are all trending to be MSG-type gates. So it's a really good start to the beginning of the year.
Hey, Dana.
Yep.
Just want your thoughts on Nurullo Aliyev. He kicked off the card tonight, the fighter from Tajikistan. There's a video that came out at 2:30 in the morning over there. There was a whole stadium just full of his fans. It seems like there's a whole country behind this guy. Is that someone that you would like to get behind?
That's fun when that happens, man. I mean, when these guys come over here and fight in Vegas, and they come from these places all throughout Europe, and when that kind of stuff happens, it's fun, it's exciting, and I mean, I don't even know what to say other than it's cool to watch on social media when that stuff happens, or when they come home after a big win. It's cool to see.
There was a report last week that the winner of John Jones versus Cyril Gane is going to fight Stipe next. Is that?
I have no idea. I mean, we're heading into the week of the fight. I have no clue.
Is there a backup fighter for the main event?
Is there a backup fighter for the main event? Yes, we always have backups for those kind of fights.
Can you reveal who that is?
I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, we got a backup.
And then finally for me, with the Contender Series and the Tough coming back, are they going to run concurrently, or is?
That's a good question.
Or is Tough, or is the Contender Series going to go after Tough?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that right now. What's the date that it's going to run? Yeah.
And are they both going to be on Tuesday? Are they going to be back to back, or is it?
That's a great question. That sounds like some shit we need to figure out, doesn't it? It's a great question.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Dana.
Hey.
I don't think we saw you last weekend, but Erin Blanchfield seemed to get one of the year's biggest results so far, beating Jessica Andrade. I was just curious what you thought of her performance.
Yeah, I was blown away. I mean, she looked incredible. She came out and first of all, let me start with this. Jessica Andrade taking that fight on short notice. She's an absolute stud, number one. And not to take anything away from Erin, she came out and did exactly what she needed to do. She went right after her. She wasn't afraid of her. She wasn't afraid of her power. She stood in the pocket, mixed it up with her, and went right after her. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for a bigger stud than Andrade to come out and do what she did, and you couldn't ask for a better badass performance by Erin. I mean, it's just, when you think about how that stuff works, and you gotta put yourself in Erin's mind, right? Mindset. Most of these kids, they focus. We've seen it in the past with big time fighters, not just fucking people that are on the undercard or whatever. Big time fighters. Erin's coming into her first main event, right? And her opponent falls out. That's a total mind fuck to begin with. Okay. Then you tell her, oh, it's Jessica Andrade, right? So you think about how mentally tough and mentally stable somebody has to be the week leading into a fight, and that all happens to her. Then she walks into this place like a gangster and goes right after Andrade. I mean, it literally doesn't get the storyline doesn't get any better than that. And it shows you who Erin really is and what she's made of and what she's capable of.
She got a big boost in the rankings. How far away is she from a title shot?
Yeah, I mean, she put herself, you go in and you beat somebody like Andrade, a lot of questions about people. And the way that you answer those questions is in who you fight and how you handle yourself and you call them tests. Could she have scored any higher on her test than she did? No, she showed the world where she's at and what she's capable of, and yeah, she's probably really close.
In recent years, we've seen like world MMA kind of maybe overtake American MMA with pockets coming up like Russia and the UK and Australia and New Zealand. But what does it say about the future of American MMA when you've got Aaron Blanchfield right there, almost for a title shot, looking like a gangster, like you said, and Bo Nickel as well coming through, making his debut next weekend? How bright is the future for American MMA?
Yeah, it's funny because every year I sit up here in front of you guys and say, oh, wait till next year, or wait till next year, or wait till next year, and it literally always becomes true. If you look at where the sport is headed right now and the amount of talent globally, and, we have 2 Mexican-born champions now, which, I've been working at for years. And now we're opening the PI down there, which is going to take it to a whole nother level. And again, all these other parts of the world that you mentioned, it's funny because to us, the people that are in it every day, the UFC seems so massive. This thing's only like, 30 years old, but realistically, when me and the Fertittas started, we're like 22 years old. This sport is still a baby. There's so much more room for growth. That's why for years I used to hear all the stupid bullshit from people about, the UFC is peaked, the sport is peaked. Peaked. We haven't even scratched the surface of how big this thing is going to get in the next 10 years. Forget about 20, 25 years from now. It's fascinating.
And I'm not sure if it was BS or not. I think I saw a report that John Jones was like 250 pounds. How big are you expecting him to kind of weigh in?
I don't know. He and I have talked and text, but I haven't asked him any of that. Listen, John Jones is a guy that's been in the sport forever. He's the greatest of all time. He's done the move up to heavyweight the right way. He's taken his time and, just didn't pack on a bunch of weight, in a short amount of time. This has been years in the making, so he knows what he's doing.
For sure. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Dana, I can't remember if we've heard from you after the Makhachev-Volkanovski fight, what your thoughts on that were, and is a rematch possibly in the works on that one?
You know what my thoughts are on that? When you make a super fight, could you possibly have a better fucking result than we did on that fight, right? When the entire world is arguing over who won, that's a super fight, and it delivers, right? The only thing that could possibly be better than that is the guy who's fighting for the interim title comes out looking incredible too. So now you got Yair versus Volkanovski, right? We'll see what happens with Islam and where he ends up fighting next. You have to do Yair. You have to do that fight. I mean, the guy came out and absolutely dominated a stud that night. And then you have the rematch after they both fight again.
Makes sense.
You could not have a better result.
Makes sense. So definitely Yair first, not before giving Volk.
I mean, listen, I don't know. We didn't make any fights yet.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different things that play out in making these fights. Timing, injuries, personal stuff, whatever it might be. But yeah, to me, the fight that makes sense is you make Yair versus Volkanovski, Islam versus somebody whenever that happens, and then you do the rematch.
So much talk is about next week is just Jones and Gans. I feel like a lot of people are overlooking Shevchenko fighting Grasso.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that fight, and what do you expect out of that one?
I agree. These things happen sometimes. But what also makes the fight so exciting and so big is the actual card. The card is stacked with great fights. This isn't just Jones and Cyril. People are just excited because Jones is coming back. But yeah, the whole card is badass, and obviously Valentina versus Grasso is an incredible card. And if Valentina beats her, I mean, it's just like this woman is absolutely amazing, and she's so sweet, talented, and so low key. She doesn't get the attention she deserves all the time. But this time we actually made 2 posters. There's the John Jones poster, and then there's the Valentina poster. So she deserves her own poster.
Yeah. Going back to Tough, there was a lot of talk going into before this started. People were saying that Conor when he made the jump, he brought 3 guys with him, and he replaced 3 guys that were on the card or already decided. Can you clear up what that story's all about?
I have no idea. Who gives a shit?
Just glad he's back, right?
Huh?
Just glad
No, it's not even that. It's like these stories that come out of these things, fuck, what did I hear? Heard something earlier tonight too. It's like, this stuff is, when we're working on all this stuff, you know what I mean? And you're trying to get guys to commit to coach and, to do the coaching commitment, especially when you live in Ireland.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Connor's going to get some things that he wants. Nobody lost an opportunity here. If there were guys that were booked to do that, we'll do something with them. It's not just like, hey, see you later, pal. Good luck to you. Have a good life. We'll figure it out. We'll take care of these guys.
And last one on Tough. I know this has been your baby until the Contender Series came around. Are you do you watch the show as it's going so you can kind of feel as it's going, or do you like to wait until it's sort of already in post-production so you can discover it like the rest of us?
You talking about The Ultimate Fighter?
The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. So what happens with The Ultimate Fighter is as it's being edited, they shoot the episodes over to me, and I watch the episodes when they're done to see if I have any edits to make on it or changes that I want. And that's what we do with basically everything that goes out of this building or the building next door. I approve before it goes out. I literally watch everything from promos to the 30th anniversary stuff, fight lore, stuff that goes on Fight Pass. Everything that goes on here, I watch before it goes out.
Have you seen, obviously one of the great things about it is that the characters that show themselves, the personalities. Have you seen anything already that leads that we're going to see some great personalities come out of this season?
100%. I mean, at the fights that happened here the other day, there was a lot of cool shit that happened. Yeah, I love it. The one thing about this show that continues to make it relevant is the best always rise to the top, and even the format on Power Slap right now, the same thing is happening. Me and Craig Pelagian did the Ultimate Surfer show, and the guy who won the show won the World Open of Surfing. The guy won. He beat all the fucking best surfers in the world in that competition. This formula works no matter how you do it.
That kind of makes me. There's an event I believe that's happening the same night as a Power Slap. That's in the future, I believe, unless I'm wrong. How is that going to work out? Is the UFC going to finish before Power Slap, or are you guys going to run that concurrently?
Yeah, the UFC will finish, and then Power Slap will begin. The UFC fight's over at the Virgin, and then the Power Slap fight is here.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Hey, Dana.
Hey, buddy.
Just one question for me. We really kind of needed a breakout star in Canada since GSP coming. Mike Malott wins on the Contender Series. He's 2-0 in the UFC. What were your thoughts on his performance? And are we going to see the UFC come to Canada this year?
Yes, and yes. Obviously huge to have rising stars that are Canadian and guys that are actually legit and can really fight. And there's no doubt both of those guys that fought tonight are. Malott looked incredible. And yes, we're working on getting back to Canada ASAP. This is going to be the year that, the whole COVID thing, it's going to take us a few years to get back and hit every place that we need to hit. But the great part of it is that all these places are chomping at the bit to get a UFC event back there. And Canada is and always has been a very important market to us. So we're working on it. Yeah, we'll be there soon. Good? Have a great weekend, you guys.